Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Baumgarten, but I suspect you already know that. And I welcome you to today's chat on Facebook, on paltalk.com, and on YouTube. Well, maybe on YouTube, maybe at least initially on YouTube. And I will be happy to explain that in a moment. I wanted to talk to you just a moment today, and this was an unscheduled event. Normally, I have a guest. And by the way, on Friday, Dr. Jeff Robbins, a psychologist who was a great guest last week, and you heard all my pertinent questions that I asked him, but you didn't hear anything that he said in return because of technical problems he had on his end. He says he has resolved those problems. He's asked me to reschedule, and we'll have Dr. Robbins on Friday. He's a psychologist in Yardley, Pennsylvania, at 5 o'clock New York time on Friday, and he'll answer all your questions about how to cope with the coronavirus and the stress thereof, whether you're in a family situation which is causing you some stress, or whether you are in a situation where you're alone and that causes you some loneliness. Hello, Tony Stewart, and hello, Irene Rada, joining us on the Facebook feed. Appreciate you joining us. I titled this "Under Attack for Reporting Facts." And some might think it's because I'm thin-skinned because I came under attack, but that's not really the reason I asked you to join me today. I want to talk about how the comments by our medical professionals about what is a scientific issue, the medicine of fighting the coronavirus, has become politicized. And I'm a little bit confused about how that actually happened, but I do know that it is. Hello, Alan. Alan says he has done a few lives and he's been attacked in the UK for stating facts. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, my friend and colleague, Sue. Hello, my friend and colleague, Ken. I appreciate you all coming and joining on Facebook, and hello to my Pal Talk audience as well. And hello in the future, but for how long, to my YouTube audience. And I'm going to discuss that with you as well in a moment. But this was all prompted by a posting I made yesterday. Now, those of you who follow me on Facebook know that if I see something that I think will be informative to the public, especially in this particular time of crisis, I will post it. And I happened to post a piece see, now it says I have messages and I can't read them. Let me see if I scroll whether I can. Yes, I can. There's facts, M-facts, and damn facts. Hello, Pete Smith in Puerto Rico, and Adam Gottlieb in Detroit, who is saving lives there with his EMS service. We thank you for that. Hey, Ruby, I didn't think you were going to be able to join us. Ruby is an accomplished musician who is a recent follower, and I thank you for joining as well. So yesterday I posted, as you know, those of you who know me, I have posted a number of items to my Facebook timeline without commentary about stories involving the coronavirus. And there was a poll by the Business Insider. And their poll found that the most trusted person in government today is Dr. Fauci. And it also said the least trusted is the president of the United States. Now, I don't know anything about the veracity of that poll. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I just know that they put out the poll and I posted it. Well, I came under attack for being a shill for the left and no longer really a reporter. Now, I'm not thin-skinned about that. But what I find very interesting is what motivated the attack. It really wasn't because of me, it was because of Fauci. And apparently there are those who don't want to believe what he and the other medical professionals say. And as the discussion continued on my timeline, I found out that there are people who are attacking Fauci and others for being purveyors of false information about a fake epidemic for political reasons. See, what these folks believe is that there's a deep state trying to overthrow the president of the United States. There is no epidemic. And this lockdown is a deliberate attempt by the Democrats to take away our rights, ripping away the Constitution, shredding it. That's what they think. And by the way, they have the right to their opinion. That's true. They do have the right to their opinion. But we are at a point now where we actually need facts, not opinions, when it comes to the coronavirus. Now, I know that there are people that may not be as sensitive to this as those of us who live in the hardest hit areas. I'm in the New York, New Jersey area. New York is the hardest hit state. New York City has over half of the fatalities for the hardest hit state of New York State. I work in New York State. I work in New York City. I commute there every day. I live in New Jersey, which is the number 2 state, and I'm from Michigan, which is in the number 3 state when it comes to the coronavirus and when it comes to the fatalities. And I just don't understand how the medicine becomes a political issue, and people are really urging their fellow Americans to disregard the advice of the public health officials. Public health officials who are trying to save our lives by suggesting that we not congregate, that we maintain 6 feet of distance from other people, that we cover our faces so we don't spread the virus, because we can be asymptomatic, meaning we don't know we have the virus, but we do when we spread it to other people, and this could threaten individuals' lives. This is not an issue of frustrating false information being promulgated. You know, this nonsense between the Democrats and the Republicans that's been going on since President Trump was running for election. It's frustrating. It's irritating. It's probably not good for the psychological health of the country. But it's not claiming people's lives. The coronavirus is. And for people to suggest that folks who are asking us to take prudent steps in order to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, in order to save our lives, and they gain a following, they get a following because people are predisposed to be distrustful of everyone. Dr. Fauci is part of the deep state, they say. Can't trust what he says. Never mind that he served under 6 presidents, both Republican and Democrat. Never mind that a Republican president, George W. Bush, awarded him the Medal of Freedom for his work. Can't trust him because he works for the government. Can't trust anybody who works for the government. Can't trust the news media, these people argue. Fake news, fake news, fake news. Everything is fake news. But what if we are imparting vital information? Let me make an analogy. I'm looking at the Doppler radar. I work for a news department. I see on the Doppler radar that a tornado, a massive tornado, is heading for my city. And I break into programming. I go on the air and I say, there's a massive tornado, take cover. Are you going to say fake news to that? Some people would. It's very difficult for someone who lives and works where I live and work, where I see bodies being piled upon one another. I'm originally from Michigan. I know that there are hospitals where bodies right now in Michigan are in the hallways of the hospitals. Bodies in semi-private rooms, meaning there's another patient there, have not been removed. Here's a patient alive. Here's the guy or the gal that patient has been conversing with for the past 4 or 5 days while they've been in the same hospital room together, who is dead, lying in their bed. They can't even remove the body. The other person has to be there. Yeah, they put a screen between them. But they lack the facilities. There's so many people dying to be able to handle it. In New York, on Hart Island, it's a mass grave. A mass grave. They're not burying people in individual graves in the Potter's Field. It's a mass grave, and yet there are people for political reasons who are claiming on my timeline that this is a fake virus. It doesn't really exist. That's beyond irresponsible. And if you gain a following, if you allow people like that to speak unimpeded, if they gain a following, there are people who are distrustful of folks like me because, God forbid, I work for the news media. For guys like Dr. Fauci, because God forbid he works for the government, discount it. Go out and congregate. Well, not only are they putting their lives in jeopardy, they are by extension putting the lives of the entire community at jeopardy. I'm really, really perplexed, and I'm worried about our nation that there are a significant, I don't know what percentage, number of people who really believes that this is some kind of a political ploy. You know, I try to look at this as logically as possible. I really do. Is one to suggest that this virus started in China as a political ploy to undermine the president of the United States? That it is on every single continent in the world? That there's a conspiracy among every medical professional in the United States? They're all lying about this because they all hate the president? I have a friend who's a medical professional in Detroit, whose wife is a medical professional in Detroit, who are on the front lines of this and seeing people die under their care every single day, who happen to be staunch Republican supporters of the President of the United States. And they echo everything that Dr. Fauci says. So I am a little bit emotional today. I recognize that. A statistic was just sent to me by somebody in the news media. I haven't verified it. I'm not a statistician, but it is from somebody in the news media. Maybe that means you can't trust it. 1 in every 800 persons in New York City have died from the coronavirus. That seems an awful lot of people. I don't know if that's even possible. Maybe it's 1 of every 800 coronavirus victims. Just now, I just received that. Well, whatever it is, it's a lot of people. Okay, so Tony says, Dr. Fauci did not dig deep enough into CDC reports, while Trump uses logical or bad logic or fallacy or really bad science to make bad arguments. I don't know what he didn't dig deep enough into. I have no idea. But this is not about me, those of you who are asking that question. This conversation is not about me. This conversation is about the numbers of people who are dying, and that there's a very vocal group of people who are trying to say this is all nonsense. Now, I understand, as one guy suggested here the other day. He lives in Fort Worth. He said on that particular day, I don't know what the figures are today. I don't even know if the figure he gave me at that moment is accurate. I didn't bother to check it. I'm going to take him at his word. But he said, I don't believe this is happening. We've only had one death from the coronavirus in Fort Worth. That's what he said several days ago, right here. Oh, so because you are fortunate, and God bless you, that what's happening here, Louisiana, Atlanta, Georgia, Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, Illinois, California, is not happening in Fort Worth. It isn't happening where we are. To suggest that this is all nonsense is very dangerous. To try to convince other people that this is all nonsense, it's very dangerous. We've had more than 700 people die every single day in New York City alone to the coronavirus. More than 700 a day. And Alan Sheldrake, who is in the United Kingdom, writes, we've had 760 people die each day in the United Kingdom. This is not a political issue. This is not about the President of the United States. This is not about the Democrats. This is not about the fake mainstream media. This is not about the deep state that people think the CDC and the National Health Institutes represent. This is about your life and my life. Now, I tried to get this person to come on with me. She was willing to do so, but she had technical issues. At least this time, I had the common sense of not putting somebody with technical issues on to ruin our experience here, ladies and gentlemen. But she's in Michigan. She was taking care, she moved into the house of her 95-year-old mother to take care of her 95-year-old mother. A caregiver comes in during the day, but there's no caregiver at night. So the caregiver would come in the day, take care of mom. My friend would take care of mom at night. Well, the caregiver has COVID-19. But the caregiver didn't know that she had COVID-19. So she brought the COVID-19 into the environment of that house. And my friend now suffers from it. And she has what is considered a mild case. A mild case means 101 degree temperature. It means chills. It means a loss of appetite. It means a teleconference with the doctor who says, do not leave the house unless you have trouble breathing. Thank God she doesn't have trouble breathing. It means pumping herself with liquids, which she has no desire to drink. Now there's a new caregiver that comes in to take care of mom. And out of the kindness of her heart, because she's being paid to take care of mom, she takes care of my friend as well. Brings in soup for my friend. Now she seems to be recovering right now. Her temperature seems to be stabilizing. She still has symptoms. She's hallucinating. She's having crazy dreams. The way she describes it, I can't even impart upon you how horrible it is, the way she describes it. And she has, to which they refer as a mild case. By the way, she is a cancer survivor. And so therefore, because of her age and her health history, she's very high risk. But of course, not as high risk as her 95-year-old mother. So as bad as it is that she got the coronavirus, thank God she got it and her mother did not. Because the doctors told her, if your mom gets it, that's it. She's through. 95 years old, she will die. Now, one other point when it comes to the coverage of this issue. Do you all do you all recall last week I had a terrific interview? Not because it was me doing the interview, with Dr. Shai Arkin at Hebrew University in Jerusalem, who gave us hope. Do you remember that interview? For those of you who didn't see it, and it's still available here on Facebook, for those of you who saw that interview, you will know that he heads a team of researchers at Hebrew University. They're working feverishly on a cure, a medicine that'll fight off the COVID-19. And he is optimistic. Remember that either his team or another team will find some kind of interstitial medication that's already being manufactured, that's designed for some other health issue that could be used against the coronavirus as an interstitial, until they can create a medication solely designed for the COVID-19. And while he believes that it's going to be a year or maybe 2 years before a vaccine is developed, he is optimistic that either his team or another, because he believes in science. By the way, not a member of the deep state, for those of you who believe that you can't listen to Dr. Fauci. That either his team or another, and they're all, a lot of them are in communication with one another, of course, will, within the next several weeks, he's that optimistic, come up with some kind of interstitial stopgap measure that will help save lives. And he encouraged us all to be optimistic. He didn't say that one drug was better than another. He didn't attack anybody. That was the sole message that this man had. And I was so happy that a friend of mine put me in touch with him, and I was able to interview him. It was, without a doubt, by any measure, and I've been a journalist for over 50 years now, what is defined as journalism. Interviewing a news source and telling an audience that news source's story. So what happens when we get together like this on Facebook? I always mention, I greet my audience on Facebook, paltalk.com, and YouTube. So what happens is I do the interview on Facebook, a group of volunteers at Paltalk, where I used to work, and I still have an affinity for the folks at Paltalk, even though I'm not employed there any longer. They capture this interview or this presentation, and they publish it to the Paltalk Global Newsroom at paltalk.com. Then when the interview is over, I go over to Pal Talk and I chat with the folks there until 6 o'clock New York time. Then I bid them adieu. The interview is automatically archived to Facebook. And then I have a pretty good Facebook following, not a huge number, but you know, making it worth my while to spend my time with y'all. Sometimes as many as 2,000 people view these get-togethers. You know, it's not a massive number of people, but hey, 2,000 people getting information that might, at this particular point in time, save their lives. I'm happy to do it with a group of 5. I'm happy to talk to one person individually about it. So it's worth the while for us to get together like this, and I enjoy our interactions. So it's preserved to Facebook on my timeline. Then I take it and I download it and I post it to YouTube. Can you believe that early this morning I got an email from YouTube that the interview with Dr. Shai Arkin, who is working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week with his team at Hebrew University in Jerusalem to try to find a cure that saves our lives, has been removed from YouTube for violation of its community standards. Now, can anybody here, seriously, who saw that interview, by any stretch of the imagination, explain how that interview, which was totally benign, nothing but uplifting, checking in with a researcher on the front lines of this issue, how that would violate the community standards? Now, I understand it came at a time when I came under attack for posting the Business Insider story that some people were offended that I posted. Which, fine, they were offended. Fine, they attacked me. I don't care. And perhaps 1 or 2 of those people complained to YouTube to try to get to me. Which, really, you're not hurting me. You're only hurting people who could be uplifted by Dr. Arkin's message. But who at YouTube could possibly look at that particular interview and suggest that it violates their community standards? And I appealed it, but I've got no notice of a revocation of the takedown from YouTube. I checked just before going live on Facebook. For those of you that see this archived later, maybe by then that interview will be back on YouTube. And if so, I thank YouTube in advance. But how could anybody look at that kind of an interview and remove it? And it makes you wonder, why would they do that? What would be their motivation? I can understand the motivation of somebody who reports it. You can report anything you want. Probably this will get reported. I don't know. But who in their right mind would remove that? To me, it's utter madness. Okay, thanks for enduring my rant here. John Bollinger asks, how many editors does YouTube have? How many of them are trained? That's a very good question. I can tell you that part of my job when I worked at Pal Talk was to investigate complaints of improper behavior on Pal Talk. So I have a frame of reference for this, John. I cannot fathom how I would, if it was something I wasn't involved in, if I saw somebody do such an interview as that on Pal Talk, pull it from Pal Talk. It makes absolutely no sense. Is there some censorship going on here? Or is it just stupidity on the part of whoever removed it. Could it be anti-Semitism, as Ruby suggests, because it's a researcher from Hebrew University? Maybe. Scott Shields, who heads the Bear Search and Rescue Foundation, says it happened to him with Facebook. In the middle of active flood rescues in India last year, Facebook blocked our communication with other rescue teams. I know these aren't necessarily policies of the various programs. I understand that. But come on. $5 billion videos watched on YouTube every single day. I think actually, John, believe it or not, more videos are watched on Facebook. So I know it's very daunting to try to handle these complaints. But you can't just say, oh, we got a complaint, let's remove it and wait for the creator to challenge it. And then we'll take a look at it. Because that opens it up to all kinds of abuses. Scott says he's never had anybody come back to him live on Facebook. Neither have I. But when I was unfairly put into Facebook jail once, and I reported it, they pulled the plug on the jail. They let me out of jail. Yes, there are probably algorithms that tell them that maybe the algorithm told them that I was challenging people like Fauci and offering snake oil in that YouTube video. That's very possible, Scott. That's very possible. Oh, there's Meryl Lynn Katz Hansen. Marilyn, Meryl, we were just talking about you. Meryl is the woman I was talking to you about in Detroit, who's right now quarantined in her mother's house. Can't even see her mother. She's confined to one room because she has COVID-19. Meryl, I don't know if you heard what I said. I tried to describe to the audience what you're suffering through. There's no way I gave it justice. I really wanted them to hear you, hear your voice the way I heard your voice earlier today. And I understand why you came to me and said you were offended. Well, you'll be able to see it. You were offended by people who suggest that this is fake, that the virus is fake. Okay, for those of you who joined late, I'm signing off. Go to the top, see it from the top. Feel free to add your comments. And at this point, I will say adieu to the Facebook audience. I'm going to head over to paltalk.com, which is a free download if you want to come and continue the conversation there, and then go to the Paltalk Global Newsroom. And love to hear your melodious tones there, because on Paltalk, there's also voice chatting, so you have the opportunity to talk. Once again, on this coming Friday, today's the 14th, 15th, 16th, the 17th, right? Friday the 17th of April. We will try once again with my friend, the psychologist, who talked and nobody heard last week because of a technical problem. He will be here to talk to you about how you can cope with the stress that this is causing for all of us. So until the next time we meet, please stay safe. And as I always like to say at the end of these conversations, peace out.